good voice. Okay, good evening. I'm Kathy Mick and will be moderating this evening. So welcome to the Board of Education for Tenafly Candidates Forum. Joining me tonight is Ann Lander, also a member of the League of Women Voters Northern Valley. League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. It strives to increase understanding of major public policy issues and influences policy through education. Membership is open to women and men. And for nonpartisan voter information, please see the League's website, vote411.org. Tonight you will hear from 6 candidates running to fill 3 seats on your Tenafly School District Board of Education. In alphabetical order, the candidates are Mr. Matt Ackerman, Ms. Bonamo, Mr. Croce, Mr. Frid, Ms. Newman, and Ms. Schwartz. Seating in order of questions have been decided this evening by random drawing. Questions throughout the evening will be alternating and ending in reverse order of opening statements. My timekeepers tonight are from your Tenafly Rotary Club, Peter and Paul. You will see their cards, yellow for 30 seconds remaining and red for stop. Your time is up. I will not cut you off in mid-sentence, but please watch the cards and respect the time. And please remain seated during the forum. And the audience, it's so nice you are here. Also remember, no audible comments in response to candidates' answers of questions. And please hold all applause until the end of the candidates' closing statements. And also no photos and no filming, and to be used in campaign literature later in this process. So we will begin this evening. I'm just going to read the agenda. Candidates' opening statements will be in for 90 seconds each, and they will be starting with Mr. Frick. Each candidate presents a prepared answer of 2 preset questions from the Home and School Association, and they can answer the question up to 90 seconds. Following these 2 prepared questions there will be questions from the community collected before this evening and also this evening submitted in cards. Answers to these questions can be by any or all of the candidates. They will have 60 seconds to answer the questions. If there's a question asked of a specific candidate, that question can be answered by that candidate, and the remaining candidates have a chance to make a comment or answer and within 30 seconds after that. Let's see, at 8:45 we will have closing statements from each candidate, and it will be in the reverse order of the opening statements. And we will now start with our opening statements with Mr. Freed.
Thank you, HSA, Rotary Club, and League of Women's Voters for organizing this event. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Like many other families, my wife and I moved to Tenafly 11 years ago for one simple reason, education. And as parent of 2 girls who are students at McKay School and Tenafly High School, I want to make sure that my children and your children graduate from our schools with knowledge and skills they need to succeed in life. Now, the curriculum that established Tenafly's reputation for excellence is no longer cutting edge. Public education is highly resistant to transformative change, and Tenafly schools are no exception. As your trustee, I will continue to work with administration and teaching staff and make sure that they make curriculum changes that our students need to be competitive with the colleges and their careers. The next board will be hiring superintendent and assistant superintendent. My priority will be to hire highly qualified, forward-thinking professionals who are not afraid to rethink and reinvent to meet the increasingly complex demands placed on public education. I also want to continue continually update our technology, not only to enhance our students' learning experience, but also improve parent engagement. That's why I'm running for the Board of Education. That's why I'm asking for your vote today.
Thank you. Mr. Ackerman, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters of Northern Valley, the Tenafly Homeschool Association, the Rotary Club of Tenafly for making this forum possible. I'd also like to thank Ms. Cassie Mick for serving as our forum moderator, and to the other candidates who have given their time and effort to run for the Board of Ed and to be here at this forum. I love Tenafly Public Schools. My son has had a wonderful experience with exceptional teachers during his time at Smith School. I expect this matches the experience of many other parents in Tenafly. I have been particularly moved when I attended concerts and art fairs at my son's school. There, I saw caring and skilled professionals educating our children. The quality of the art produced by every student at the school across many different styles and hung with care in the hallways, and the beauty of the children's chorus singing Winter with You are particularly strong and warm memories for me. At the same time, there are serious problems with the way things are being run by our current Board of Education. The sudden resignation of the assistant superintendent and the superintendent a week before school started this year, as well as a technology hack that shut down school operations last spring, show how poorly things are currently being run. Serious concerns about these and other matters have been raised by many members of our community to the current leadership, only to have them be ignored. Often, we are told explicitly that they will not even engage us in a dialogue. To bring leadership to the board that will be responsible and accountable, I am running for one of the open seats on the board, and I am happy to do so alongside Marisa Bonomo and Michael Croce.
Thank you. Ms. Schwartz, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. Okay, good evening. First, want to say thank you again to the HSAs, particularly the high school HSA, for your tireless work putting this forum together. Of course, to the Rotary Club of Tenafly, and to the League of Women Voters of Northern Valley, and specifically to Kathy Mick for moderating. And to David DiGregorio, Dan, and the entire High School Media Center team who are here, making sure that all of you at home are able to tune in. My name is Jocelyn Schwartz. I am running to serve for a third term on the Tenafly Board of Education. I have been a trustee for close to 6 years, the past 2 as president and 2 before that as vice president. These 6 years have given me a deep understanding of how a public school district operates and what it means to be a Board of Education trustee. They have also taught me how crucial that understanding and institutional knowledge is to the success of the board. Our schools are nurturing the future global citizens of the world. I understand our vital role in that. I understand the varied, nuanced, and complex nature of the work, and I understand how to get things done. We have essential work in progress. Our superintendent search and referendum are just 2 brief examples, and I am running again to see that work through. Every day is different as a trustee. There are endless opportunities and challenges in advancing the experiences our children have. On every one of those days, I show up to look at all of it through the lens of what will be best for our students, all students. That includes supporting our teachers, staff, and administrators in the ways that they need, looking critically at our facilities and resources, being mindful of our budget and our bottom line, and asking the tough questions.
Thank you. Mr. Croce, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Croce. I am not a politician. I am not a person who's used to being in front of people and trying to get their approval, to get them to like me. As a trial attorney, I often make people very angry at me. But that's the reason why I'm here tonight. Because I, like many of you, came to Tenafly with my family because I saw this as a place of opportunity for my children and for my family to thrive and to grow. Sadly, we've seen some horrible things happen over the past few years. The pandemic has opened our eyes to many things that we did not know were going on in our schools. I, like many people here, watch every year as the congratulations graduate signs go up in June and then the for sale signs go up in September. I'm concerned about our property values. I'm concerned about the education our children are getting. I'm concerned about the fact that people are not listening to the parents in this community about issues that are very important to all of us. For those reasons and those reasons alone, I would like to be on the board to speak for every one of you who wants to have your concerns heard, to say and ask questions as to why things are being done and how our money is being spent. I want to say thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions this evening.
Thank you. Ms. Bonomo, you have 90
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you to all who have made this evening possible. My name is Marisa Buonomo, and I've been a taxpayer of Tenafly for 29 years and a resident, and employed as an educator for 30 years, over 30 years, and 20 of those years as a guidance counselor at the elementary level in Fort Lee. I completed my undergrad studies and received certification in English literature and elementary and secondary education. I have a master's degree in school social work and in guidance. I serve as the anti-bullying specialist in the district that I work in, and part of my additional responsibilities include being the moderator for SAD, and that stands for Students Against Destructive Decisions. Students come and share and implement their ideas for student outreach and improving school climate. I've been a part of the Municipal Alliance Committee and have had experience in participating on an interviewing panel for school principals. I was also awarded Fort Lee School District Teacher of the Year in 1999. And as a resident and taxpayer of Tenafly, I would like to become a more active participant in my community. And an educator and counselor, I've spent a great deal of time working as a mediator between parents, administrators, teachers, and students. My role is to provide support in achieving the best possible outcomes in sometimes very difficult situations. I find it an honor and privilege to work with children and their families, and I hope to be elected on the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Newman, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you to all the HSAs, the League of Women Voters, and the Tenafly Rotary Club. My name is Paula Newman, and I'm running for my second term as a Tenafly Board of Education trustee. I'm running because I care about our schools, our students, and our Tenafly community. I'm a 17-year resident. My 3 children have attended Tenafly Public Schools since kindergarten. My oldest graduated THS last year and entered college fully prepared and is off to a successful start. My dedication to Tenafly Public Schools is a long-standing one. I've been volunteering in our schools for over a decade, from being a class parent, to chairing HSA committees, to my current role as a BOE trustee. I know firsthand and up close the issues that our students and our TPS families face because, as a TPS parent, I have experienced many of those issues too. During my tenure as a trustee, I have listened with an open mind, asked questions on behalf of the community, and approved programs to enhance our children's public school experiences. I want to represent you. I want to be the reasonable, rational, and responsible voice. I want to keep the programs that are working well and keep the momentum going on projects currently planned that will benefit our students, our staff, and our entire Tenafly community. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to pause for a few minutes. We have a technical situation, and so we're going to wait for a few minutes. And about 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds.
For people who are watching at home, you may have to refresh your page. Not yet.
After the reboot.
Especially in the school. Thank you. We're now going to have the candidates answer the set questions that they've received before this evening from home and school. And I will read the first question, and we will be starting with Mr. Ackerman after I read the first question.
And you will have 90 seconds to answer.
As a member of this board, what specific strength or talent would you bring to the team? What do you feel is your primary responsibility?
For 2 years, I was a full-time English teacher at a public high school in Bushwick, Brooklyn. At the same time, I studied for an MS in teaching from Pace University. These experiences grounded me in the day-to-day reality of what it means to be a professional in a public school system, while also giving me deep knowledge of how to build and deliver effective curriculum and programs in a public school. This experience and knowledge would, I'm sure, prove to be valuable during my time as a trustee on the Board of Ed. Before I was a teacher, I served for more than 2 years as a Peace Corps volunteer in Ecuador. I lived in the rainforest part of the country, referred to in Ecuador as the Oriente. It is the frontier part of the country, and there I was exposed to people and cultures entirely foreign to what I had known before. This crucible experience shaped me in many ways, teaching me to sustain what were to me hardships, like having only a cold shower to clean myself in a small cement box outside the tin roof shack I lived in, while making me aware, in a way I will never be able to forget, of the far greater hardships faced by the many Ecuadorians living in extreme poverty who I came to know during my time there. I learned how hard and rewarding it is to build relationships with people with far different backgrounds than my own. I also became fluent in Spanish. These experiences would, I am sure, also serve me well as a trustee on the Board of Education. In short, I know education, and I know how to build relationships with people far different from myself. I'm eager to put these skills to work for the Board of Education.
Thank you. Ms. Schwartz, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. My primary responsibility as a board member is to understand the 50,000-foot view of what our students, teachers, staff, administrators, and community need from our schools, and then use that understanding to move our district forward while navigating issues that come our way. As the current president of the board, a parent of 2 students at Tenafly High School, a graduate of Tenafly Public Schools, I understand and am in touch with our community on a daily basis, and I am invested in our collective success. My experiences give me a unique perspective, helping me to represent and to lead. As Board of Education trustees, we set district policies, oversee the district process, the budget process, negotiate union contracts, hire and evaluate the superintendent, work within our committee structure, and have general oversight over district operations. As per our code of ethics, it is not our responsibility to run the schools, to administer the schools, but together with our fellow board members, it is to see that they are well run. I bring a keen understanding of what that all means and how the board can affect change. My vision is ambitious, to deliver excellence for our students academically, emotionally, and in our physical spaces. I have the institutional knowledge necessary to see this vision through, to learn from past experiences and grow from them. I have led through some tough times, and through it all, I have worked to connect with the other trustees, our administrative team, and all of you, our Tenafly community, build those relationships, and in turn, work to build consensus on important issues. We may not always agree, but I strive to always walk away understanding each other's points of view. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Croce, you have
Thank you.
90 seconds.
Thanks. Success has become a dirty word. I find that people have a feeling that when people excel and when they do well in school and when they do well in their careers, people look at them as if they're doing something bad, as if they're taking advantage of others, that they're excelling over other people to their detriment. Success is a good thing. I want to promote success. I want to promote achievement. I want Tenafly School to be a place where our children, our sons, our daughters, are able to go and experience and learn life and get the tools that they need in order to move on out of our homes, onto college, and onto careers. I am a facilitator. I'm a person who knows how to listen to other people and bring people together and get things done. As a member of the board, my job would not be to run the school and to create curriculum, but rather as a member of the board to engage in oversight over a superintendent whose job it is to make sure that the school is well run and that our students are well prepared. I feel that oversight comes from the community as well. As a member of the board, I intend to speak to the community. I intend to have the community's concerns addressed. Every time there's a board meeting, I want answers for the community. And I want to make sure that when the superintendent comes and addresses the board, the oversight that's necessary is put into place. I don't want to be a bobblehead. I want answers, and I want performance. I want success. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bonomo, you have 90 seconds.
My primary responsibility would be to the students and their families. Listening to their concerns, addressing them is paramount. affirmation and allowing them to have a voice, no matter what my personal opinions are, is an acknowledgement of their rights to have a voice and to be heard. My skills as a counselor in the field for the past 2 decades has given me the confidence to apply them, hopefully, in this arena. Being an individual who can mediate and come to reasonable solutions is something I take pride in. Thank you.
Ms. Newman?
People know that I respect their opinions. I take time to listen and hear the diverse needs of our community and make sure the board takes those needs into consideration when matters come to a vote. In addition, I am good at building consensus with my fellow board members. Important characteristics of being a board member are being thoughtful, measured, a good listener, honest, fair, show integrity, and put students first. I know that I have demonstrated these qualities. It is important because the job of the board members is to make sure that the schools are well run. We do not administer the schools. We ask questions as representatives of the community and make sure that the administration is sharing this information with the community. We work with the superintendent to make sure the person is empowered to do their job and give our town what it deserves, a high-quality education system. Our town has a fantastic reputation in the state, and I intend to keep it that way. In addition, we are not just hiring a superintendent, we are recruiting a superintendent and need to attract the best talent and qualified candidates. It would be very difficult to do so without an experienced board to support them and their transition to Tenafly. We want board members who are positive and put their best face forward and attract the best possible candidates. I know I have a passion for our schools, care about our students, understand the job of a board member, and will be the best trustee to attract the high-quality candidates.
Thank you. Mr. Freed?
As a board, we serve as intermediary between the professional staff of the district and our community. So it is our job to oversee the administration and represent community and ensure that community is well informed in a timely and accurate manner. And we also need to make sure as a board that any concerns or questions from the community are answered either by administration or the board. One of our major responsibilities is ensuring that we hire the right people into the district. As a board, we have a direct responsibility for hiring our superintendent. Beyond that, we must pay attention to those peer resolutions on our agendas and pose credible challenge to the administration for the new hires. I have been serving on the board for the last year, and let me tell you, it's been very busy. There is a lot to learn about the process, how to communicate with and pose credible challenge to the administration, and how to effect change. I am a member of curriculum and finance committees. I gained insight into how our curriculum gets developed and implemented and how we manage our finances. So having this experience is incredibly valuable to the team as we search for our next superintendent, assistant superintendent, and as we plan the referendum.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to the second preset question, and I will read it, and we will be starting with Ms. Schwartz. What are your top 3 criteria for hiring a superintendent for the Tenafly Public School District? And you have 90 seconds.
I have a unique perspective here. I was on the board for our last superintendent search and have worked closely with our current superintendent for almost 4 years in a board leadership position. And while it is the full board's job as a group to discuss and determine those criteria as we enter into our search for a permanent superintendent, there are 3 qualities that I believe to be crucial to our next superintendent's success: strong leadership, a focus on relationship building, and a clear vision for Tenafly. To me, strong leadership means asserting authority based on proven career success and experience, giving other administrators, teachers, and staff autonomy while guiding and teaching them along the way. It also means owning decisions and challenges we may face, welcoming change, and helping the district navigate through that change. A focus on relationship building will help our new superintendent build mutual trust and understanding, which will be crucial to their success. This includes spending time in our schools and in the community, talking to all stakeholders to understand what is important to them and striking the delicate balance between communicating effectively and efficiently without bombarding people with too much information. And finally, to me, having a clear vision for Tenafly means taking our already high-performing and top-ranked school district to the next level. What I'm looking for in the next superintendent is the how. How will they continue to meet the needs of each student and give them the tools they need to be successful, being our curriculum, offerings, and facilities? How will they foster empathy and understanding within an inclusive, safe, and supportive school environment? And finally, how will they set Tenafly apart from the rest? Thank you.
Mr. Croce, you have 90 seconds.
In the search for the new superintendent, I consider the 3 Ps to be what's of most importance to me. I want someone who can plan, prioritize, and perform. I know that it's the job of the board to set the policy, to work to create the curriculum. And they have one employee and only one employee that they supervise, and that's the superintendent. We rely on the superintendent to bring to us, as the board, the materials and the information that we need in order to properly create a school curriculum, a school policy that works. It's our job to bring the voice of the community into that debate, to bring them into that conversation. We want a superintendent who can put together a plan for the school, a plan for the community, and a plan for the development of not only the curriculum, but also a sustainable a sustainable environment that will last for many, many years going forward. We are in the throes of a situation where the infrastructure of our schools needs tremendous amount of repair, and there's going to be a great cost involved in that. We need someone who can prioritize, be able to make tough decisions about what needs to be funded, what needs to be done, and what work needs to be done now versus work that needs to be put forward into the future. And lastly, we need them to be able to perform. We need a history and a documented history of performance.
Thank you. Ms. Bonomo, you have 90 seconds.
The superintendent would have to be a really good fit for Tenafly, for the Tenafly community, someone who's visible, interested, and willing to be an active participant in community events. I've worked under many superintendents, and I feel that the most success to a district, especially one like Tenafly, is one superintendent that would stay for a long period of time, not 2-3 years, but at least a decade to get the job done. The superintendent should have a comprehensive knowledge and of the intricate budgeting process. Budgeting goals and the allocation of funds in the budget should be clearly defined. And in order to know how to budget, the superintendent should have able to speak to the experience of classroom teachers, counselors, vice principals, and principals. He should have a good knowledge of all personnel and experience in working in that role or alongside those who are actively working in education. I haven't seen that over the past decade. I would like to get to know the process in Tenafly. And finally, he or she should possess communication skills to ensure a positive relationship with the Board of Ed members, with the personnel in the school district, teachers union, everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Newman, you have 90 seconds.
My top 3 criteria are strong communicator, experienced, and opportunity. Strong communicator, we need to recruit someone who can come in with a vision, share their plan with the community, and keep coming back to report on the progress. Effective communication is key. It promotes trust with staff and with the community. We are a high-performing district. We don't want someone who is learning on the job. Rather, we need someone with experience who can add to our already outstanding education system. Niche ranked us 6th. Let's aim for higher. And now we have the opportunity as a community to highlight the strengths and uniqueness of Tenafly and recruit new leadership to embrace our values of academic achievement in a caring environment where everybody has an opportunity to excel, whether in the arts, athletics, or academics. There is a place for everyone in Tenafly. Most importantly, as I have said before, we are recruiting a superintendent and need to attract the best talent and qualified candidates. It would be very difficult to do so without a reasonable, rational, and responsible board to support them and their transition to Tenafly. So much as I have outlined these three important criteria in a superintendent, it is equally as important to make sure that we have the right people on the board who put children first and represent the entire community in attracting these candidates.
Thank you. Mr. Fried, you have 90 seconds.
I have spent the last year pushing against the status quo. I strongly believe that what we need today in our schools is not what we needed 10 years ago. We absolutely have great things in our schools. We are consistently ranked as a top 10 district. And I want our district to do even better. Do better for our special needs kids, do better for our gifted kids, and do better for those kids in the middle. And to do better, some things do need to change. So I'm looking for someone who is equally comfortable with change, someone who understands that standing still is falling behind. Now, leading the change requires a very special skill set. First of all, that person must have a very clear vision for a district. And then they need to have very strong interpersonal and communication skills to engage all stakeholders and inspire them to go on the journey towards change. And for the third, I would love to have someone who would be our brand ambassador, not only within the state, but at the national level. We want to make sure that TPS is recognized as the best place to learn, best place to work, and best place to grow. We want our children to have an advantage with the college admission process, and we want to attract the best professional talent to our district.
Thank you. Mr. Ackerman, you have 90 seconds.
Everyone with a child in Tenafly Public Schools probably shared my shock when both the superintendent and assistant superintendent resigned just a week before school started this year. The superintendent's resignation was particularly egregious as she only gave 3 months' notice, far too short for anyone leading as large and complex an organization as Tenafly Public Schools. It was all the more disappointing that she chose to announce this resignation at the start of the school year when finding a replacement is particularly difficult. It was not comforting to then receive an email from the current leadership of the Board of Ed saying that they had only learned of the resignation the same day it was announced. I was also distressed to learn that the superintendent who was resigning in such an unprofessional manner left behind a $1.4 million budget hole in her previous role at Lyndhurst, something that the current board must have known when they hired her. Hiring and providing oversight of the superintendent is the chief job and power of the Board of Education. This incident shows how poorly current leadership has managed that role. The current superintendent earns more than $225,000 in base salary, in addition to meaningful benefits, including cash payouts for accrued sick days. I am sure a responsible and accountable Board of Education, working in partnership with our community, can find a suitable candidate to fill this important role. The most important thing we can all do is ensure that we have the right people making the decision of who to hire, and that those same people do a good job of overseeing the new superintendent once that person is hired. To do that, we need new leadership on the Board of Education.
Thank you. Now we're going to get to the public questions. And these questions have been submitted by the community prior to this evening and prior to the forum, as well as questions on cards from you this evening. Some of your questions may have been answered in the candidates' opening statements or within some of the questions they just answered now. Anne has sorted through the questions that you wrote down tonight, and so that we maybe combine some questions to prevent repeating questions. So our goal tonight is to get, my personal goal tonight, is to get as many questions as possible because you've come and you want the answers, and the candidates are here, they've shown up, and they want to answer your questions. So that is our goal for this evening. So, but if any of the questions, if we don't get to them, because there's quite a few, if we don't get to all the questions tonight, I'm sure your candidates would be happy if you contacted them through email. They would be happy to answer your questions for you directly. So that being said, I'm going to read the first question that was submitted by the public. The district currently has an assistant superintendent in charge of curriculum and
and a board committee. How will you change the decision-making process regarding curriculum for our district? And we will start with Mr. Croce.
Well, I don't think I would change the process of how the curriculum is going to be developed. Rather, I think the point that's important for us to recognize is that there is a community voice that has to be involved in that curriculum. The superintendent has the obligation of presenting his goals or her goals and her agenda to the board. The board has the obligation of questioning the curriculum, questioning the goals, and arguing and questioning the direction that the curriculum policy is going to take. The community has to be involved in this conversation. We have to ask the questions that the community is asking. My goal would be to bring that voice into the conversation.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Ackerman, if you would like to answer that question.
I forgot to mention you have 60 seconds to answer these questions.
Can you please repeat it?
Sure.
The district currently has an assistant superintendent in charge of curriculum and a board committee.
How will you change the decision-making process regarding curriculum for our district?
Well, I think the most meaningful thing as I've begun to look seriously at the budget is a very serious look at the amount of money that we're paying and the amount of administrative staff that we have. Not only does superintendent have a very high salary, the assistant superintendent also gets paid $175,000 a year. I'm personally curious whether or not that position needs to exist. So that's something that I would be very interested to look at across a whole host of other administrative roles. Beyond that, it's extraordinarily important that the professional staff develop the curriculum, that we hire professional staff who are capable of doing so, but at the same time, it is one of the board's roles to approve and disapprove of curriculum, and the board should take that role extraordinarily seriously, and if curriculum is brought forward that is inappropriate, they should have the courage to disapprove it.
Are we just raising our hands to speak? Sorry. Are you going in order? Oh, I apologize. I got mixed up with the order then.
Go to Saratoga with us, I think. Anyway, actually, it's your turn to answer.
Oh, okay. I was confused because the jumping.
I'm sorry, I got a little mixed up on this one. So I need Ms. Newman to answer the question.
And you have 60 seconds.
Sure. I am the current curriculum committee chair. I would not change the process. First of all, we have state standards and state mandates. We don't get to choose the curriculum. We do have the opportunity to hear at curriculum committee meetings what is coming down the pike. We ask questions on behalf of the community, and sometimes, I think my colleagues will agree, we ask some pretty difficult questions to find out how things are being implemented, but we don't have the choice to tell anyone what we're allowed to teach. In fact, we can be penalized if we don't do what the state mandates dictate. That comes down to actually a financial burden on the community because we receive millions of dollars from the state and we would be in jeopardy of those dollars. So I would like to make sure that we continue to expand all of our offerings to the community, but I wouldn't change.
All right, is that better? Now everyone can hear me.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, okay. All right, this is fine. Okay, now, I was a little out of order on this time, but I'm now going back and correcting myself. So, I have, this is question, yes.
He answered already. I need to go back and speak to Ms. Bonomo. Do you have to answer a question? The first question, yes. Thank you. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Could you repeat the question?
The district currently has an assistant superintendent in charge of curriculum and a board committee. How would you change the decision-making process regarding curriculum for your district? And you have 60 seconds.
In the past, I've been involved in curriculum writing and have had many heated debates over what goes into the curriculum, what should remain out of the curriculum. And my first thought is regarding mandates from the state. While I appreciate what everyone said, if it's such a good idea, why do we have to force people to accept it? I would feel more comfortable if it came from a local source rather than the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it is, let's see, Mr. Freed. You can answer the question, please.
Thank you. I believe that curriculum development and curriculum implementation is a very critical function. And our current structure has assistant superintendent fully responsible for curriculum as a full-time role. And I believe this structure makes sense. If I were to change process, then that would be one thing is to get community more involved, or at least have curriculum and instruction to listen to the community and to listen about their concerns. So for example, there are concerns voiced around elementary math curriculum that needs to be reevaluated and potentially needs to be changed. So as a board, we cannot dictate what assistant superintendent must do, but we can develop benchmarks and we can ask for improvements in the process. So, and
Thank you.
thanks.
Ms. Schwartz, you can answer the question, please.
Sure.
You have 60 seconds. Would you like me to repeat the
No,
question?
thank you. So as a public school district in New Jersey, we have to satisfy the state standards that are put forward. It is up to us as the district to determine what the curriculum will be to satisfy those standards. And that is where the experts that we hire, our assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction and everybody that person oversees, that's where they come into play in writing that curriculum and determining the resources that our district uses. Now, one thing that I do think we need to revisit is our curriculum review cycle. It is something that did exist a few years ago. It got off track because of COVID and our attention was diverted elsewhere, and I do think it needs to come back so that we have a constant review of each of our curriculum areas so that we know what is coming down the pike. Now, Igor mentioned math. We have heard a lot about the elementary math program. A lot of resources have gone into that program because our administrators have heard from our teachers, from our parents, that there are some areas where they needed help. And they've responded to that with resources and professional development. And I'll
Thank
finish
you.
my thought later.
You can always include some of your thoughts
I will.
in your closing remarks.
Thank you.
The next question, and I will be starting with Ms. Bonamo. As we all know, a significant portion of our taxes fund the school budget. What do you feel are Tenafly's most important budget categories or concerns?
Please repeat the question.
Sure. As we all know, a significant portion of our taxes fund the school budget. What do you feel are Tenafly's most important budget categories or concerns? And I'm assuming they mean the school budget.
I feel that the budget should be used for teacher workshops and student needs, just practical things that the school needs. I will be honest, I did not send my child to Tenafly Public Schools. I sent her to parochial schools for her academic career. This is something that I would definitely love to become more involved with if I'm elected for the board.
Thank you. Mr. Ackerman, would you like to answer the question? You have 60 seconds. Yes. As we all know, a significant portion of our taxes fund the school budget. What do you feel are Tenafly's most important budget categories or concerns?
So Tenafly's budget is about $80 million a year. Almost 10% of that, I think even more than 10% actually, is spent by the district to send students to other schools because their needs are not being met by Tenafly Public Schools. I think this is a huge problem in our school district, not only because of the amount of money that we're sending out to these other districts, but what it says about our approach to public education, that so many children and their parents don't find a spot for themselves inside our school district. So I think that's a huge issue. I also just want to note, it's true the state does provide pretty strong guidance on what the standards should be, but there is a huge amount of leeway of how those particular standards should be met. And it's extraordinarily important that local leaders take responsibility for challenging those standards and for developing curriculum that suits the needs of our community, not passing the buck to state leaders.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Newman, this question is for you. Please, would you like me to repeat the question?
We can hear you.
Our entire community. Oh, there we are. I there are families that do not have students in district, and we need to make sure that we are being fiscally responsible with all of our spending. On the niche.com survey, the place where Tenafly got a C was in facilities. And I think that we can actually be fiscally responsible, even if we go the route of a referendum, by making sure that we can bring students back in, by using our spaces more efficiently, by finding spaces for the special needs kids, for basic skills, for gifted and talented. We can improve the fields, we can improve our arts, we can improve on so many different ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Freed, would you answer the question, please? I can repeat it if you wish. You have 60 seconds.
Yes, so like if we look at our budget and we subtract like salaries, which is non-discretionary, so and look just at the discretionary budget, then we spend most of it on facility, extracurricular, and we have some discretion over athletics. So we don't really have a significant budget to cover all these areas, and we need to upkeep our facilities because they are important. What we can do is get creative with alternative revenue sources and figure out how to bring children back into district. And that requires investment into professional development, investment into, again, into facilities, classroom, to make sure that we can accommodate those children, bring them back, and bring those dollars back into our budget.
Thank you. Ms. Schwartz, you have 60 seconds.
So, as Igor just said, you know, 80% of our budget is salary and benefits, so it's non-discretionary. So that does leave a limited amount of money for all of the other things that we want to do every year. And we do need to be fiscally responsible and pay very close attention to what we're spending every single dollar on. And that often goes towards curriculum, new textbooks, new technology, facilities. Those are all areas where we need to focus our attention. And as far as bringing students back into district, that is something that we have started to do and the board has prioritized. We have already brought some students back in district this year, and that is absolutely one of our goals as we talk about this referendum, as we talk about investing in our facilities and our spaces and our staff. That's something that we want to do. So that is a long-term vision, something that takes a lot of time and thought, but certainly something that we are invested in doing and interested in doing.
Thank you. Mr. Croce,
Thank
you have
you.
60 seconds.
Thank you. So the budget is a very big part of why I'm here. And as everyone has said, salary and healthcare is a big part of our budget. that doesn't leave a lot for other things that are very important to all of us, like special education, infrastructure, and clubs. And accountability and transparency is really what we need to have in the board. The community needs to know where the money's being spent. Just this past Monday, the board approved a pay raise of $40,000 of an individual who went from being a maintenance mechanic level D in a union job to a created position of building and grounds assistant supervisor, where he was receiving $120,000 a year, a $40,000 pay raise for a position that never existed before. There's no accountability, there's no transparency. This vote took place under the guise of a referendum where everyone at the board approved this vote, approved this salary increase, without anyone in the community having an opportunity to know what was going on.
Thank you. This question is for 3 specific candidates, and you will have, I guess you can decide who wants to answer it. And then the other candidates will have 30 seconds to respond if they wish. The question is addressed to Mr. Ackerman, Mr. Croce, and Ms. Bonamo. How did the 3 candidates decide to run on a slate? And who would like 60 seconds, or if you want to split it up in 30 seconds, 2 people, but you have 60 seconds total. Anyone?
I'll start.
Okay.
One of my colleagues at work told me that there was an open seats for Board of Ed, and she encouraged me to run. I called a friend of mine who put me in touch with other people who were running, happened to be Mr. Ackerman. I gave him a call, asked him, I don't know anything about running and participating on a campaign, and I'm really interested. I'd like to try. I'd like to throw my hat in the arena and give it a try. And he was all embracing. I met Mr. Croce, and decided to go along with them. I shared their views and their passion, and here I am.
Thank you. I'm looking at this question, and it's a long question.
Do we get a chance at 30
Yes,
seconds?
you have 30 seconds.
Do you
I'm
guys
sorry,
mind
I'm
if I-
getting ahead of myself.
Do you guys mind if I take that
Does
one?
anybody, Mr. Ackerman or Mr. Croce, do you want to add to Ms. Bonamo's comments, or would you like to move to the other candidates answering
Yeah,
30 seconds?
I just have one thing to add. So, I decided to run for the Board of Ed not because I ever wanted to, but because I felt a sense of responsibility because of how poorly things were currently being run. I realized very quickly, out of 9 seats, if I had 1, that wouldn't be an opportunity to do very much. So that's part of why I'm so excited to work together with Michael and Marisa so we can have a meaningful voice on the board.
Thank you.
I would like to join in that as well. if that's
Okay, you have, excuse me, thank you. He has 30 seconds.
Thank you. I'm not a politician, and I never planned to run. But then I learned that there was an election this year, and that there was an opportunity to run. So I was told that Matt Ackerman and Marisa Bonomo were talking about running. I got a chance to meet them, and they made it easy for me to do this. This has nothing to do with anything more than an opportunity for me to try to serve my community. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm with them.
Thank you. Some of the
Wait,
questions,
I'm sorry. Can we have an opportunity to chime in as well, if we'd like?
Yes, you have 30 seconds.
Okay. I know.
I'm sorry.
Paula, that's okay. You had
Well,
expressed an interest.
I just want to say that I very much support my 2 incumbent candidates, Igor and Jocelyn. I had no desire to be on a slate. I wanted people to vote for us because we are individuals. We didn't need to be put together on a slate to try and prove something. I don't really understand. You guys could have run separately, but you chose to run as a slate. So I just
Thank you.
have no understanding.
Thank you. Yes, you have 30 seconds.
Okay. So I'd just like to add that our meetings are open to the public. We have work sessions. We have action meetings. There is always an opportunity, 2 opportunities for public comment. for people in the public to ask questions. The particular resolution that you raised certainly could have been asked, and we would have answered it, and you would have understood the process behind that. So we do answer those questions. Our public comment portion is just that, public comment. It's not public dialogue. Each individual has 3 minutes to speak, and then we always offer answers if and when we can, as long as it doesn't compromise the privacy rights of anyone.
Thank you. Some of the questions are a little repetitive, so I'm going to combine a couple of them, please, if anyone doesn't mind. Traditionally, school boards, and this question will be answered first by Mr. Ackerman. Traditionally, school boards have remained nonpartisan. In today's political environment, it may affect Board of Education's decisions. Do you believe the political parties should play an active role in local board elections? Why or why not? Mr. Ackerman, you have 60 seconds to answer, please.
Sure. Well, listen, it's a nonpartisan election. Political parties are allowed to provide support to local candidates as they see fit, but the election is nonpartisan. I think it's very important that it remains that way. I think the biggest problem that we have with the Board of Ed is there's just a lack of diversity of views. We've heard people here tonight talk about how important it is to have consensus among the Board of Ed. I disagree strongly. I think we want a variety of different views on the Board of Ed. We want those views to be expressed in public meetings, in vigorous debate in front of the public, and then we decide what policies we're going to take and how we're going to move forward with debate. So I think what I've heard a lot is that we don't really want a diversity of views on the board. I think that's a big problem with the current board as it exists, and I hope myself, along with Michael and Marisa, can bring a different perspective.
Thank you. All of you have an opportunity, again, back to, you can answer the question, and Ms. Swartz, you're up if you want to answer the question also. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah. Am I up next or Paula?
Yes, you are.
Sure. Yes, if you could, please.
Traditionally, school boards have remained nonpartisan. In today's political environment, it may affect Board of Education's decisions. Do you believe that political parties should play an active role in local board elections? Why or why not?
Okay, thank you. Yes, school board elections and school board conversations should be nonpartisan. It is about students. Everything we do every single day should ultimately be about every student's needs, and what's doing best for them. And that does not mean we don't have diverse views on our board. We don't agree on everything. We often have debates. We often have varied perspectives. But at the end of the day, we do have to come to consensus and support each other and understand each other. And sometimes that means walking away disagreeing, but understanding each other for those disagreements.
Thank you. Mr. Croce, would you like to answer that question, please? You have 60 seconds.
Sure. I think it's foolish to think that politics isn't really consuming much of our school system today. Unfortunately, the very mandates that we're talking about that have to do with our curriculum came out of Trenton, came out of a political arena that's compelling our school system to engage in a curriculum that not necessarily meets wider academic approval, nor does it meet wide community approval. To say that politicians aren't motivating and aren't driving the conversation is ridiculous. There is no room for politics in a school board, and the individuals who sit in that school board should represent the interests of their community. It's okay to have personal feelings. It's okay to feel how I feel personally and how I want my children and my family to live. But as far as the decisions that are made in the school board, they should be representative of the community's feelings, the community's sentiment, and that's what needs to be happening. We need to have the debate in the school board during open session so the community can see that the school board is agreeing or disagreeing. And then the school board, and then the community can weigh in by casting their votes during an election.
Thank you. Ms. Bonamo, would you like to answer the question?
I agree with Mr. Croce. I work with a lot of families, and yes, I agree that politics have become infused, and it's hard to keep that separate. However, we have to hear the voice of families, parents of the students. They have the final say, not the educators, not the curriculum, not the mandates. Parents are, I deal with it on a daily basis. They're up in arms about some of the mandates that are coming down. I see where this is going. And it breaks my heart because parents feel like they have no voice. And again, I've been to a couple of board meetings, not many. I intend to come to more, but they haven't been well attended, not for the few times that I have been there. So I'd like to see more community involvement.
Thank you. Ms. Newman, would you like to answer the question? You have 60 seconds.
Sure. 100% children first. Politics have no place in our board, in our schools, period. As far as when we actually do have issues that are important, I have seen that boardroom full. I have seen over 300 parents, 300 district members, not even just parents, listening in on the Zoom calls. There are plenty of opportunities to get yourself there if you can't get there in person, but we're there all the time. We sit there and we listen, and I also believe in the silent majority. We know when things are going really wrong, and we know when things are going to change, and we do listen, and we're available all the time. I get stopped in supermarkets, I get stopped when I'm at dinner, and I'll take those calls, I'll take those times, because I care about the community. So to say that, forget about politics aside, we are very transparent. And by the way, we are one of the only districts in Bergen County, much less in New Jersey, that actually allows for people to make public comments via Zoom.
Thank you. Mr. Freed, would you like to answer
Yes,
this
so
question? You have 60.
Yes, so my response will resonate
Thank
with
you.
Paula's and Jocelyn's. I think, we have a great diversity of opinions on a board without having to bring politics into the room. And we have gone, as Paula said, to great lengths to ensure that we continue with Zoom meetings and make sure that community has complete accessibility to our meetings, to notes, and able to ask questions during public comment session. So the board should be all about listening to community and serving our children. That's our priority. There is no room for politics in that room.
Thank you. This question has been asked by a few people, so here it is. And we'll start with Ms. Schwartz. How has your campaign received funding or other resources from an outside political, it's has, not how, I'm sorry. Has your campaign received funding on from other resources from an outside political organization? If so, what is that organization? Can you speak, the other part is, it's two questions by two different people. Can you speak to who has financed your campaign to date? So those are the two questions about financing campaigns. And you have 60 seconds to answer.
Okay. So I have not received any donations from political parties. I've received donations from community members, family, and friends who support my candidacy on the Board of Education, and it's also partially self-funded. I want to go back because I think I only had 30 seconds in the last question. I was supposed to have a minute. And we're dancing a lot up here around the mandates, and I think we need to call out what everybody's talking about, and it's the new state mandates for our elementary age children. Tenafly is doing it at 2nd grade and 5th grade, introducing some sensitive subjects. I personally think it is smart to start introducing these subjects at these ages, teaching our kids to be well-adjusted, inclusive, understanding human beings as they grow up and live in this modern world and become global citizens of the world. So I am appreciative for the state for recognizing that these kids are hearing and seeing these things on social media, out in the world, on the playgrounds, and recognizing that we need to give them a trusted space and trusted adults to learn about these sensitive subjects.
Thank you.
And parents do have the option to opt out if they are uncomfortable.
Thank you. Mr. Croce, would you like to answer the question, please?
Which question are we talking about?
The question is, I can repeat it for you. Has your campaign received funding or other resources from an outside political organization? If so,
What is that organization, and can you speak to has financed your campaign to date?
The only
And
thing
you
that
have
I know,
60 seconds.
the only thing I know is I've contributed $300 as has my fellow Slate members. But I do want to talk about this mandate, and I want to talk about the fact that
That's
that
not, you're
there
not
are very
answering.
real feelings about it.
Excuse me. That doesn't answer the question.
It's
So
addressing the
excuse me,
comments that were made by
excuse me,
Ms.
I'm sorry, please don't interrupt me. You will have a chance to address that if you want to in your closing arguments. But that's not the answer to this, that's not answering this particular question.
I don't believe you stopped Ms. Newman when she
I
was...
think
Schwartz.
Ms.
that
Schwartz, sorry.
I answered
it
the
is
question.
now, Ms. Bonamo, would you like to answer the question about financing your campaign?
Like Mr. Croce.
And you have 60 seconds.
Like Mr. Croce, I donated $300, and I know that some friends of ours have donated as well.
Thank you. And we have Ms. Newman. Would you like to answer this question?
It is self-funded, and my mother and my mother-in-law contributed. And I reused signs, by the way, so that I was not trying to spend extra money. I was trying to be very frugal.
Thank you. Mr. Freed, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, so my campaign is
Fred.
primarily self-funded. I did receive a few contributions from the community members. That's all.
And Mr. Ackerman, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, I mean, I know better than Michael and Marisa just because I'm the treasurer of the campaign. So our campaign has raised a total of about $4,600. Every single one of those dollars came from a direct solicitation that we made to members of the community, not a single dollar from any political organization, from any other source. Of that amount of money, only $240 came not from residents of Tenafly, and those came from residents of Englewood who are friends of mine who just wanted to support me in the campaign.
Thank you. This next question is addressed to three candidates, Ms. Bonamo, Mr. Croce, and Mr. Ackerman. The question is, which curriculum mandates do you disagree with? And whoever wishes to answer that question first, raise your hand. Of the three I mentioned, this is directed to Mr. Bonamo, Mr. Croce, or Ms. I'm sorry, and Mr. Ackerman. Volunteers? Okay.
I have my own thoughts regarding this, but I know that Tenafly has a very detailed policy guide, as described in Policy 5756, and every parent should read it carefully. It looks like there's a great deal of support for students. I know that in a school system like Tenafly, there are safe spaces, there's one-to-one counseling service, wonderful caring educators who are teaching and caring for the students while they're in school. However, in my own experience regarding students grades K through 6, and I'm referring to the sex ed curriculum, children are not ready to learn about those topics. Specifically, in 2nd grade, listing medically accurate names for body parts, including genitals, in 2nd grade, masturbation in 5th grade, differentiation between sexual orientation and sexual identity in 5th grade. They are not ready. I'd like to add one more thing, if I may. I am vehemently opposed.
Excuse me, your time is up. I'm sorry. You have to watch your timekeepers, please. We're trying to get as many questions as possible. Mr. Bonamo, or I'm sorry, please forgive me. Mr. Croce and Mr. Ackerman, you each have 30 seconds to respond to this question if you wish.
I believe that the sex ed mandate is particularly offensive. We're talking about 8 and 10-year-old children. Those conversations are better had in the home, in the family, and not in school. And I don't want teachers talking to my 8-year-old or my 10-year-old about those topics.
Thank you. Mr. Ackerman, do you want to
Yeah,
add
I
a
mean,
comment?
I
You have
think-
30 seconds.
I think the biggest problem with the mandates that's most relevant for us has been the current board's approach. When these were introduced to the community, they put the athletic director up to talk to the community, which I thought was really unacceptable to do the professional staff. They should have the courage to stand in front of the community themselves and explain why they're taking the approach they do. We've also heard that they don't have options in the way that these mandates are being implemented, but that's just not true. There's 3 approaches that districts across the state have taken that this board elected not to do. One is parental curriculum nights. The other is to make it an opt-out as opposed to, an opt-in as opposed to an opt-out process. And the other is to have instruction on these topics at the last day of school. So if you're not participating,
Yeah.
it's not
Your time
negative.
is up. I'm sorry. I got distracted with another question, so my eyes are going this way. So I apologize.
No problem.
I was wanting to.
Can we chime in?
Yes, you have 30 seconds.
Okay, so we don't write curriculum. It is not our job to teach the curriculum. So it would be completely inappropriate for the board to get up at a parent night and present that to the community. That is up to our administrators and our teachers, who are the people to do it, and that was appropriate. I completely support the approach Tenafly has taken, putting one teacher in charge of delivering all of this instruction in all 4 elementary schools, so they're getting a completely consistent approach with a safe and trusted adult that they already know and respect. And again, if parents are uncomfortable, they can opt out.
Thank you. And,
Can I add to that?
yes,
Okay. Because I'm on the curriculum committee, I'm the chair, and we had a very long conversation about this. And I think the most important thing is that these controversial topics are such a small portion, like 3 maybe, for all of these, all of this hype. It's really 3 things. Let's talk about the other things. It's focusing on individual physical assessments now and not just team sports, how to carry those skills forward, how to nurture health and wellness to carry you when you leave school.
thank you.
I would like to add as well, right? So I believe that our district administration has taken a very measured approach to develop age-appropriate curriculum to deliver these new topics. And parents have opportunity to opt out. Before they do so, I encourage everyone with concerns to meet with Mrs. Young, who will execute this curriculum with grace and utmost respect for values that our families hold in their homes.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to another question, please. What, if anything, and we will be starting with Ms. Bonamo, what, if anything, related to critical race theory is being taught today in the Tenafly school system? And you have 60 seconds.
Personally, I am uncomfortable with it. There's a great number of people with a lot of opinions about that, and it's kind of hard to separate fact from hyperbole. I know that many districts have CRT embedded in the curriculum, and speaking for myself, if I were a teacher, I would be opposed to teaching it in the classroom. I think that what most schools have taught as far back as 10 and 15 years ago was most appropriate. Students come from all different backgrounds and from all over the world to the tri-state area, and they learned to assimilate, grow, and New Jersey public schools have been renowned for their education systems and implementations of celebrating cultural diversity.
Thank you. We're running out of time. Yes, I know. And so everyone has an opportunity to answer this last question before we go to closing statements. So we are running a little bit over time, and I apologize for that. If you each have 60 seconds to answer that question if you choose to, and I can reread the question if you would like me to. And that question would be to you, Ms. Newman, as to answer it. The critical race question, would you like me to repeat the question?
No,
Okay.
it's okay. No.
I like a good answer like that. No, it's easy.
We don't teach it. We teach diversity, we embrace cultures, we try to listen to all different people within our community. They all have some value to add. I don't know at all what we're talking about with CRT. All I know is that we as the board want to listen to our constituents, all of them, and see if we can find ways to enhance our culture, enhance our teachings to embrace everyone.
Thank you. Mr. Freed, would you like to answer that question, please?
As Paula said, we don't teach CRT in our schools. It's advanced curriculum belongs in universities, law schools, and it is important to educate our children around, about different cultures and values, and we do it as per well-defined curriculum. And we wanted to listen to our community about the experiences. That's why we had those listening sessions, but it's in no way translates into educating our children or bringing CRT into our classrooms. It's just not happening.
Thank you. Mr. Ackerman, you have 60 seconds.
This board hired a woman named Bonnie Cushing, who is board member at an organization that describes itself as the Center for the Study of White American Culture. On the front page of that website, it says white American culture is toxic. This is the way that issues like critical race theory are introduced into our school system. This board spent $56,000 on Bonnie Cushing and another consultant last year to introduce these topics into our school district. It is absolutely happening. But as I've thought about this issue, I think what it shows is a way that certain people use hot topics like this as ideological cover for their own incompetence, which is shown by the sudden resignation of the assistant superintendent and the superintendent just a week before school started this year. And it shows what a poor job this board is doing on its core issues
Thank you.
and focusing on the wrong things.
Thank you. Ms. Schwartz, please.
Sure.
If you'd like to answer the question, you have 60 seconds.
Sure. So CRT does not exist in our schools. It doesn't exist in K-12 schools anywhere, to my knowledge. It is a college-level study and course. What the board has done is engage in anti-racism training to prepare ourselves for listening sessions where we wanted to hear from the community what their experiences of racism in our community and our schools were, so we can create and foster a more inclusive environment for everyone. We want to create a space where everyone feels welcome and safe and secure, and that includes those listening sessions. It also includes delivering curriculum, teaching our students about our history in an appropriate way, an age-appropriate way at every level, so they understand our nation's history and can take them through K-12 through that entire curriculum. But we are not at all teaching CRT and have no plans to teach CRT. It does not belong in a K-12 public school.
Thank you.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you.
Of course you can.
I teach constitutional law, and one of the toughest topics to talk about, especially in a very diverse school, like the school that I teach at the university that I teach at in New York City, is the topic of slavery and the stain that topic and that history has on our country. It's a very, very sore and tough topic to talk about. CRT is nothing more than a divisive ideology designed to pull people apart, to force people to draw lines and to fight one another instead of coming together. To say that CRT is not in our schools is an outright lie. My youngest son last year was assigned a book about apartheid in South Africa. Apartheid is, first of all, not American history, and it's clearly a study about a system of government that racially segregated its population and drastically hampered and beat down a section of the culture based upon their race. CRT does not belong in our schools. It should not be permitted, and it is very much there.
Thank you. That concludes our community questions. Again, I will repeat, if your questions did not get asked, it's because we had too many with too little time. So please address your candidates individually if you would like to pursue that after this evening. We are now going to start with the candidates' closing statements, and we will go in the reverse order of the opening statements. So we will start with Ms. Newman, and you have 90 seconds.
I would like to say thank you once again to the HSAs for hosting tonight's event. A very special thank you to our moderators and to you, the audience members, for caring enough to come to this forum. Why did I move to Tenafly? I moved to Tenafly for excellent public schools. I am a product of and believe in supporting public education. Tenafly Public Schools consistently rank high in the state. Our students come prepared and ready to learn, and our teachers work to prepare them to be advocates for themselves, both in school and after they graduate. I'm also grateful for the opportunity I have been given to serve on the board and give back to the community, and I'm thankful for all of my board members for choosing me as part of board leadership. I am proud to be a member of a board where we often have strong opposing views and heated debates, but we have been respectful and able to find common ground. We don't scream at each other and then walk away from the table. We sit down and work together to get our job done. And I support my incumbents and all of our re-election efforts. Every decision I make, every vote I cast always focuses on students first. I don't have an agenda, and I don't have an angle. I just want what is best for our schools and best for our children, because in the end, that's what makes our town so special. I will continue to listen to the voices of our community and find the common ground to make reasonable, rational, and responsible decisions for everyone who calls Tenafly home.
Thank you. Ms. Bonamo, please, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you to everyone who made this night possible. My name is Marisa Amato Bonomo, and I am running for the Board of Ed because I feel that I can use my skills as an educator and a counselor in helping students receive the best education that's afforded to them in this amazing school district. I want to put my knowledge and experience as an educator and counselor to use and make sure that every decision is made in the best interests of our children, the students. I would like to see parents voice their concerns at Board of Ed meetings so that I may support our students in any way possible. I feel that my skill set is transferable and would like to put them to use as a Board of Ed member. That's what I hope to accomplish if elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Croce, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. I'm very impressed by the number of people who appeared here this evening. It's a full room, and I'm told there are many more that are watching on Zoom. And it tells me a lot about the community, and it's very much the reason why I'm here. I have sons, and when we came to this community, they were very much active in the athletics, baseball and football. And I got to know a lot of my neighbors, and I got to know a lot of the children in this community. And I love them. I really care about them. I want to see our schools become and maintain one of the highest statuses in the country. And I believe that's possible. There's no reason why Tenafly can't be the premier school district in the nation. I think that as a school board member, I can help bring the community together and building a consensus so that the kind of outside influences that try to drive us apart can be kept outside. I believe the vast majority of people can build a consensus and come to an agreement about the type of education we want our children to have and the environment that we want them to experience when they are attending schools. If I'm elected as a school board member, I will bring your voice into the school board meeting. I will ask the questions that people don't want to ask, and I will make it uncomfortable for the superintendent who wants to push very divisive curriculums or wants to kowtow to a mandate from the state when the community is outraged and opposed to it.
Thank you. Ms. Schwartz, you have 90 seconds.
Okay. I have had the honor of serving this community for the past 6 years, and I'm proud of the progress my colleagues and I have made. Under my leadership as board president, we have expanded our counseling services district-wide. We have brought transparency and accountability to our budget. We overhauled our IT systems, updated our curriculum in both small and large ways, hired an interim superintendent and assistant superintendent, and have begun the process of improving the physical infrastructure in our buildings through a referendum. Together, my colleagues and I need your vote to continue this work and continue moving our district forward. In many ways, this year's Board of Education election may be the most important yet. As evidenced by the focus of the questions here tonight, national politics are increasingly being fought on the local level, a trend that is not only antithetical to our town's tradition, but is more importantly detrimental to the education of our students. As an example, teaching our students world history, American history, is not CRT. Put simply, politics have no place in our schools. I show up,
Please,
I
let the
sh-
woman finish, please.
I show up literally every day to do the work necessary to benefit all students, and regardless of our personal politics, I know my fellow trustees do as well. Now, more than ever, our district needs committed, knowledgeable leaders willing to and able to move our district forward. We need problem solvers and consensus builders, not division or distraction. So to those of you here tonight in the audience, and for those of you watching at home, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the important issues affecting our district. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions, and every vote truly does count.
Thank you.
Please, 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 hold your applause till the end of all of the closing statements. Thank you.
Mr. Ackerman, please, you have 90 seconds.
It has not been easy to put myself forward as a candidate for the Board of Education. I've done so not because I wanted to. I have no interest in adding the Board of Education to my resume or in exercising whatever power the board has for any personal agenda. I've done so out of a profound sense of personal responsibility because of the poor manner in which the current board is running our educational system and their introduction of divisive concepts into our school district and hiring of divisive consultants into our school district. As I've campaigned for this position, I have learned again about the extraordinary diversity of Tenafly. And it has been wonderful to get to know so many people in our incredible community, which spans the gamut from the religiously orthodox to the deeply secular, with people from all backgrounds and perspectives. And it is extraordinarily important that we ensure that our district truly remains a welcoming place for all people, regardless of their background. You know, one of the people that I had the chance to meet as part of this campaign is a former Soviet refusenik, who is also a skilled pianist who developed backyard science experiments for children during the pandemic when our schools were shut down. These are the kinds of people that we want involved in developing our curriculum
Thank
and our
you.
policies.
Mr. Freed, you have 90 seconds.
I would like to thank again organizers of this event tonight, and thank you everyone for coming and asking these questions. I ran last year. I'm running again. I got an opportunity to fill in a seat for a year and to understand how board operates. It's been a fantastic experience for me. I learned a lot, and I feel that I can take this experience and use it over the next 3 years, given the opportunity. I also want to communicate that I was very impressed, after joining the board, I was very impressed how board operates and how cohesive the board is. And also want to commend the leadership of the board, like Paul and Jocelyn, are fantastic, and I learned a lot from them. So for me, it's children first. My children are beneficiaries of Tenafly district and educational system. I want to give back to the community. I want to continue to help improving this district. And as I mentioned, like we want to go from being in top 10 to being the best district in New Jersey, at the very least, but also well recognized on a national scale. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thanks all the candidates for coming this evening, and good luck with your school district.
Thank you.
Thank you.